Hey, everybody! Good morning on this wonderful final weekend of the month of March. It's Victor Lee with the Alberta Esports Association, and joined with me this morning is Bob Murray from SAIT and the SAIT Trojans. Bob, welcome.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Exciting day.
Yeah, super exciting. This has been a long build-up to this event, and we're certainly excited to kick things off with FIFA and with Rocket League today. So, Bob, why don't you take some time to introduce yourself to our audience and let the people know who you are and what you're about and what SAIT Trojans is all about.
Sure thing. Yeah. Well, my name is Bob Murray again. I'm the Associate Director of Athletics for the SAIT Trojans. And, we've been a part of the ACAC and the CCAA, which is the Alberta Conference, the National Conference for face-to-face sports and all of that kind of stuff for quite some time. And but just recently, we've really started to look at the esports world and had plans to launch something last spring, but with everything going on in our world right now, it wasn't available to us. So we worked hard this fall to be able to put this together, and here we are today at the culmination of the showcase.
No, that's awesome. That's really great to hear, Bob. And I know this kind of echoes and rings deep with a lot of sports organizations. Certainly, we did the same event or a similar event for the Alberta Colleges Athletic Conference last semester for similar reasons, right? With sports being canceled and for us to find some activities for the students to participate during this pandemic. But also, I do need to give you props, or your school props, for not just doing that, but also acknowledging this entire new demographic of students who are big into gaming and big into esports. It's certainly an under-recognized student group. And so it's great to have your support and to have SAIT on board in making something like this happen. So actually, Bob, would you be willing to kind of elaborate a little bit on, further on your intentions with engaging into esports and doing these gaming events now under the umbrella of SAIT Trojans?
Sure thing. Yeah, for us, it's been, like I said, it's been about 18 months where we've been unpacking what it's going to look like for us on campus and the athletics department involvement in esports. And, we definitely were overwhelmed by the amount that's out there of what could be happening and how it could be happening and the platforms that were available. So we did some exploration. We did some student feedback surveys. We did a few other items with some of our other association to be able to kind of keep things going. And when we finally got together, we said, well, we're going to launch this thing, and we're going to launch it in a bit of a twofold type of approach. The first would be a larger student engagement part that we were going to name e-gaming, so the e-gaming at SAIT. And then the more varsity team approach would be our esports group. So that would be our teams that would be competing against other colleges, across the world, to be honest, in different types of titles and gaming platforms.
No, that's awesome. So you're really kind of taking an approach where there's this like a casual student body that's playing just games and supporting each other in that sense, but then also that more competitive aspect, like a competitive division for them to compete intercollegiately, which is really great. I love that you're taking this approach in terms of encouraging engagement and participation from the students. Have you noticed from the feedback that you've gotten from the students at SAIT and just post-secondary students in general, like their appetite for esports? Be able to kind of talk about what that interest looks like right now and kind of
for sure. Our survey told us a lot, right? We interviewed current students, and then we had an open house in the fall where we sent a survey to prospective students about their level of engagement. And the majority of it was I like to game. I'm a casual gamer. I pick up, I play, maybe like PlayStation or something like that. But there was that niche group that said, no, I'm really into this, and I really excited that you guys are looking at the opportunity to be able to have that at SAIT when I become a student, or I'm currently a student. And so we got to recognize all the different games and titles that everybody was excited about and wanting to be a part of. And we chose for this event to look at the more traditional games inside of sport, right? But definitely going to be looking at all the other gaming titles as we progress forward.
Yeah, certainly with esports, like when we talk about winter sports, what does that mean, right? Is that luge or is that hockey? Is that curling? There's just a huge group of different sports that fit under that description, and the same can certainly be said for esports. So, obviously, with today we're doing FIFA and we're doing Rocket League, but yeah, certainly exploring other titles like League of Legends or Fortnite or Super Smash Brothers. There's just a huge array of different titles to kind of select from. And again, just the approach that you're taking in terms of just recognizing gaming and esports as a whole and allowing your students to participate in these multiple different titles. And, we'll certainly have to work towards which title to actually select moving forward for your students to kind of compete with the other schools. And that's a bit of a, collaborative effort, certainly, as we work with the other students. Actually, Bob, this is an interesting fact that you can share with the audience here with your involvement with the Alberta Colleges Athletic Conference. Do you want to tie that in a little bit to your conversation beyond just your role with SAIT Trojans?
Sure thing. Well, I'm the past president on the ACAC's executive. So I served as the president for the last few years. And Jim Knight, who's the current president, was involved in the ACAC in the fall, the event with you guys, and was actually part of doing what I'm doing.
Opening ceremonies. That's right. If you remember Jim Knight from the Smash Brothers ACAC
That's
event.
right. Yeah. And so so as an executive member, I've been tasked to work with our operations manager, Anthony Wong, to look at what ACAC esports would look like. And so we have a whole process that a sport has to unpack to be able to be approved by the rest of the council members. And just really briefly, you have to have 4 institutions want to be involved in that sport, and then it can be then a proposal, an application could be put forward. And so we're well ahead of that. I think we have 7 or 8 institutions that are excited about the opportunity to be able to look at this. And so Anthony's done some really good work to try to get the paperwork in place that needs to happen.
Anthony is a legend. I love that guy.
He does. Yeah. And he's been a great resource for the executive and the council to be able to kind of walk through what this would look like. Right. And so him and I have been, chatting back and forth. Are we looking at 1v1s, 3v3 type of thing for Rocket League? We're getting into the nitty gritty of what that might look like, and to put something in place to share with council to look at how quickly we can have it as an official sport of the ACAC in the not too distant future.
That's actually really exciting. That's like some insider news right now for everyone who's tuned into our ceremonies. The fact that for those of you who aren't aware, too, the Alberta Colleges Athletic Conference, they are the governing body for college athletics here in Alberta. With all the PSIs recognized as members across the province. And so with what Bob and Anthony and the team there are doing to recognize esports as a sport is just a huge step forward for everything that we're trying to do here. So that's just amazing to hear. I also love Anthony as well. Like, I've gotten to know him quite well over the last year now, I guess, and certainly working with him quite intimately on the ACAC event last semester. And just a fun anecdote, like, I don't know if our audience has been paying attention to the live action Mortal Kombat movie that's coming out pretty soon, but as soon as that trailer dropped, Anthony immediately messages me and he's like, "Oh, did you see this trailer?" Because Anthony himself is quite the gamer and quite the nerd, so it's always great to kind of chit chat with him, and his enthusiasm and passion for gaming and his advocacy that he's doing here, kind of from the inside, is certainly palpable. So,
well, I think really he's part of it is that he's actually been involved in both worlds, right? He's actually a volleyball. He's a volleyball coach as well. Right. So that's why I think he's a really good glue person to help us unpack what this is going to look like as far as being able to offer it as a sport in the future.
Certainly, yeah, certainly kind of bridging the gap. And I mean, I can say the same for you too, Bob. For you and Anthony being champions for us and champions for esports is just so amazing, right? To have people like you in the inside in the sports world who understand esports, who understand that gaming brings and this community brings, and is trying to bring us into that community. Um, actually, this is a great question for you, Bob. We're asked this all the time when it comes to esports. Oh, esports is it a sport? And recognize it despite it not having necessarily like the same physical demands as traditional sports. What's actually your position and your approach when someone asks you that or challenges you
It's a
that
good
on that
question.
view?
I think,
Oh,
yeah,
the
I think,
semantics of it, right?
well, I think, it's just part of, understanding the demographics a little bit more. And part of it is that, people are just so caught in their understanding of what traditional sport is that they're not willing to step outside of it and expand their thoughts behind it. And we'd heard whispers of this, for the last decade, right? Of, is it going to move towards some sort of larger Olympic type of looking thing? And then that's when you started to see people ask questions, right? And then over this last 5 years, you've seen it explode internationally. And I think that that's probably made athletic directors, institutions start to look at how this is working. And, a big part of it is engagement. You and I have chatted about this before, right? It's about just who can be involved, and it's an activity. It's straight and simple. It's an activity, but it's such an engagement activity. All you need is strong Wi-Fi, and you can be connected to the world, right? Like, and so I think
connections though preferred, everybody. I want that on the record.
Course.
If you get a direct connection,
but that's the key, right? It's that there's such an engagement piece, and when we're delivering sport, whatever form it looks like, it's about engaging people. That's what it's about. And so, this platform allows us to be able to engage people from wherever they are, whatever stage of life they're in, to be able to just be involved. Now we're talking collegiately, so we would need them to be involved in a college institution academically, but in general understanding of it, it's about engagement, it's about activity. And just watching our exhibition series and seeing the non-traditional, like we saw when we had some of the Trojans competing, of course their teammates are logging on and watching and making comments. But then you saw all of this other following of people logging on and, that weren't related to the Trojans or to that team, perhaps like the soccer team when we had our FIFA exhibition, right? So I think it's just, that's probably what I say. I say, it is an activity and it's about engagement. And isn't that what sport's all about anyway?
That's a great message.
And to be honest, like it's starting to, you seeing it develop. It's a little bit slower here in Canada, but for those of us that might be on watching right now from the States, this has been going on for quite some time already at institutions. You've got large arenas at universities, large e-gaming studios. They hire trainers to work with, the competing athletes, because, it's still demanding. Don't get me wrong. It's demanding to be sitting there and playing, right?
In its own way.
It is, but it's, it's kind of similar in a way to, someone maybe driving a NASCAR car, right? They're sitting in that chair, and when they're done, it's not like they're not taxed, right? Those guys
absolutely.
lose weight. They need that water.
You're definitely sweating kind of for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, absolutely.
So I think,
it's the same practice and training. Yeah, absolutely.
Right, exactly. So you need those trainers, you need those coaches at the competitive collegiate level for sure, and then the higher competitive level as far as the gaming in general is for sure. So I just think it's one where it's going to take a little bit of time for the traditional people to accept it, but it's getting more and more accepted. And as I said, to have 7 or 8 institutions in the ACAC already saying we're either doing something or we're ready to do something, I could see that number creeping up into double digits quite easily by this fall. And you and I have been talking about what it looks like in Western Canada.
We got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do beyond just this event. No, that's actually just really well said, Bob, and certainly just a testimony of how far things have gone. If you would have told me 10 years ago when I started a gaming club at the University of Alberta when I was a post-secondary student myself, which I faced a number of hurdles, for the record, when that happened. To fast forward to now, where I'm in this call with an athletics director from the sports team at a post-secondary institution, championing esports. It's I never would have believed it. But as you mentioned, certainly with the traction and the momentum of esports kind of happening in Asia, where it first kind of kicked off, and now in the US and parts of Europe, and starting to see that momentum build in Canada and here at home in Alberta, it's just awesome. And as you mentioned, as more schools and more athletic directors start to get involved with this, just the momentum will just continue to grow, and you get a bit of a fear of missing out, like the FOMO aspect of it as well, where you do want to get engaged. And I also love just how you describe esports and what it does share with sports. What I always talk about is, esports is electronic sports, and the portion of sports that it really shares is that sense of community, the sense of belonging, the camaraderie, and just celebrating competition, right? This is a bit of a personal one for me, but growing up being asthmatic, there's a point where I had to stop doing sports. Like, I did intramural soccer growing up. I was on my elementary school basketball team. I played badminton through middle school, but eventually, the asthma catches up, and you can't really compete physically, with the rest of the group with those types of restrictions. But with gaming, that certainly gave me that opportunity to still feel a sense of being on the edge of my seat and competing and watching other people compete. And so certainly recognizing that group of students is just huge, and it's something that really resonates with me, that I'm particularly sensitive about. So that's just great to hear from you, Bob. It's certainly validating, and it's great to have a champion like you working as hard as you are to make something like this happen.
I think the academic side too is starting to really prove that way too, right? You're starting to see, management programs and digital programming that is happening, and so
broadcasting, shoutcasting, these are all skills, technical skills.
Yeah,
that need to be acquired, right?
Places like SAIT that are starting to engage in that digital education platform, and you've seen others, right? And so I think it's just a natural timing, as I shared with you in the pre-chat that we had. We're at a tipping point, and I think it's just going to start to fly here really quickly.
Oh yeah. I mean, just like sports, there's a business component to it, and there's also a community component to it, and oftentimes, one will lean further one way than the other. But as you mentioned too, esports is a sport at the end of the day, so it's important to measure success by providing these opportunities to students and providing a sense of belonging and a sense of engagement, and to encourage participation, but also to encourage enrollment into post-secondary institutions, right? To get that very natural pathway from being a high school student to being encouraged to pursue post-secondary education. And if esports can help them do that, then that's a huge win. And as you mentioned too, esports requires just so many puzzle pieces put together for it to actually foster sustainably within our province. Everyone often will think of the business side of esports and how do we start to get these big stadiums here in Alberta, not realizing, well, who's actually going to put these events together, right? And who's actually going to be playing in those stadiums? And for you to foster these students, to give them opportunities to play, but also for the post-secondary institutions to start to incorporate esports into their academic program, to teach all the skills that are required to actually put on these types of events, will certainly go a long way. So we actually have a lot of alumni from NAIT and SAIT on our team, bringing on their background in the broadcasting, the digital media programs that are offered at these institutions, and are restructuring them and bringing their skill sets and restructuring them to kind of fit the esports landscape rather than the traditional radio and TV broadcasting world. So it's certainly really exciting to start taking those first steps. But absolutely. So as we kind of wrap this up, Bob, do you want to give a big shout out to the sponsors who are involved and the partners and everyone who's involved in putting this event together, and then we'll be able to kick off and do some FIFA.
Well, yeah, I think, all of our campus partners that have been involved from SAIT, but then in particular, some of these sponsors that are noted here on the overlay, TD Insurance, Lenovo, and Manulaife, they've been with us right from the beginning, and really exciting. And you could tell that they were excited to have a platform to be able to be involved in what we're doing. And so they came on and they've been with us right from the beginning. So a big shout out to them and a thank you to them. And looking forward to see how the competition finishes up today and handing out some prizes and everything else.
What are the prizes, Bob? What are these players playing to win today?
So we've got for the winner, for the grand champion, it's going to be $100 EB Games gift card. And for the other participants that are in the championship today, we've got some Coca-Cola prizing, and we've got some other prizing that's available that we'll send out to them after the event is complete.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Well, with that being said, we're just 10 minutes away now from kicking off our FIFA tournament. And then following that will be Rocket League. And then you'll see Bob at the end of the day for closing ceremonies as we wrap things up. So I hope everyone enjoys the event today. And thank you so much, Bob, for joining us for opening ceremonies.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Have fun.
Enjoy the tournament, everybody. And good luck to all of our competitors.